pledge allegiance for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order. Thanks for all everybody in attendance, either here or in Zoom land. I'd like to introduce everybody around the table, as I usually do. Christine Keller, our town clerk. John Paciotti, town councilor. Stephanie Thibodeau, town councilor and vice chair. We have Michelle Flewelling, our town manager. Adam Lorette, town councilor. Peter Lawrence, town councilor, and myself, Matt Townsend, town councilor and chair. So our first order of business are the public announcements, and the details may still be found at www.fairfieldme.com. Number one, the summer concerts in the Memorial Park will be July 12th through August 30th, Fridays 6 to 7:30 p.m. Number two, Lawrence Public Library, comprehensive program details online and via LPL social media. The summer reading program, all ages, challenges for prizes, special activities, and events. July 22nd, 2 p.m., music with Mr. Harley. And new this summer, the patron pass to the Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens. Call LPL for details. Children 18 and under, meal collaboration with MSED 49. Lunch is 11:30 to 12, Monday through Friday, June 17th through August 16th. And just a question on that. Memorial Park, is there a listing of those concerts as they come?
Yes, they've been advertised on Crossroads TV and the library's website. There's various posters, town office, right out here at the community center. And then we just recently posted an individual slide for the act that's coming up on this Friday, and we'll do that every week.
Yep, just saw those. Thank you.
Yep.
The second order of business are the public hearings. To hear public comments on proposed statutory amendments to the Land Use Ordinance, Section 9.14, accessory dwelling units.
Anyone in Zoom, Michelle?
Nobody in Zoom to explain how those
All right.
pieces would happen. 6:32.
So, Michelle, would you, we talked about it last time, but would you care to elaborate?
So it is just, there are a few grammatical changes that we had to make that we noticed after the major adoption that we had, update that we had done back in December of '23. And that while we were incorporating LD 2003, and it was reviewed after the adoption in December by the state, we realized that there was a section of the law that we did not incorporate within our ordinance. So it simply states under affordable housing development, it adds section B, which is multifamily dwelling units are allowed to have a dwelling unit density of 2.5 times the base density that is otherwise allowed in that location, and require 2 off-street parking spaces for every 3 units. So that was a piece of the law that was to be incorporated that was missed when we did this in December, and that's really the only major change.
Thank you. Kind of any discussion around that? And again, anybody here that wishes to speak to that? Hearing none, I'll close the hearing. The third order of business, public comments limited to 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council or request opportunity to speak on a specific item that is on the agenda, or may email comments for council to info@fairfield-me.gov by 4 p.m. day of meeting. Submitted content may be read aloud at this time. Nothing, Christine? Thank you. Anybody in the audience?
Anybody want to reserve the right for later?
Thank you very much. The fourth order of business, reports from staff and committees. The town manager report.
All right, so on June 27th, Chief Leary and I met with Delta Ambulance. At this time, they are predicting next year's rate will increase another $10 per capita, so not the 70 that they originally thought, but that will take us to $35 per capita. So Chief Leary and I are still, well, mostly Chief Leary is working on various different options for us as we go forward and grant opportunities and that kind of stuff. And hopefully we'll be bringing that back to the council for a discussion within the next month or so. So to keep moving on that. And then the 1st of July, the Public Works staff and I worked on the new plantings at Monument Park. So they did a great job with all of that. The new steps at the gazebo were replaced today. And then the paving company that we've been talking to has come in and started working on an estimate for redoing all of the paths through there. Currently, the paving that was, the asphalt that was underneath the steps has been ripped up. It will be paved underneath that when the new paving is done, and creating a center paved area around where the two paths cross and the flagpole, so it incorporate all of that area. So lots of great things going on there. The 2nd of July, I did meet with KV-COG to go over more details of the community action grant for the community center. So to get that all clarified, we should be hearing back and hopefully have the contract on that soon so we can get started. I also met that day with Central Maine Growth Council, so to discuss our Parks and Rec survey and future projects. So they're working on the survey piece. July 10th, which is today, I did call Commissioner Loisam's office to follow up on your May 22nd letter to DEP. I did leave a message with her assistant, left a voicemail. I still have not heard back from anyone, so hopefully within the next couple of days I will hear something on that.
Thank you for the follow-up.
And then, so just some general updates for you. I did receive word just this morning, actually, from our assessor. He has completed the sales analysis study. Of what we will be doing for a factor for our property values. He will be using a factor of 1.325, and that will allow us to certify at 85%, which is up from the current 78% that we're at. What that means to folks, it means that pretty much every residential property in town will see their existing value go up 0.325%. Well, 0.325. So if you had a land value of $50,000, it's going to go to $66,250. The homestead exemption, which is currently at $19,500, will go to $21,250. So that will increase. With the increase in value, we are predicting that there will be a decrease in the mill rate. But until the field work is completed, until these pieces are actually put into the computer system, we will not know for sure what that is. So remember, we still have to raise the same amount of money regardless of what your property value is. But it is people need to understand that we had an almost 10% increase in the school. We had a 7% increase in the county, and over 7%, almost an 8% increase in the county, and just over a 7% increase in the municipality. So all things considered, people need to expect the fact that property taxes will increase this year. It's just going to be a matter of how much. And we'll know better within the next couple of weeks. And then also, the Green Road brush dump does still remain closed, and because the Public Works Director is here this evening on another topic on your agenda, we would like to discuss this with the council under other council business when you get to that.
Okay.
And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess one question I have, and maybe you can get it to us for next time. What does that look like for Delta's increase? What would that be as a increase in the overall budget if you're looking at that increase for?
I can have that for you in just a minute, actually.
Yeah, I didn't want to throw you.
No, I can grab it.
But that was just kind of interesting. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Michelle?
Let's save mine for later.
Okay.
Michelle, can you just clarify, I think you corrected the percentage of the increase. First you said 0.325%, but it's 32.5%?
No.
What's
Every property value, which there are multiple, right? Every tax table that we have, which has all kinds of different influences, every value that we have in those tax tables will be multiplied by 1.325.
Right, so it is 30.
32.5%, right?
32.5%.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yes.
The first said 0.325%.
And it is realistic. People, if you were to go on, say, just Zillow right now and look for a home that's similar to your size home and look at what those homes are selling for and on the market for and what your property is currently assessed at. And remember, real estate values are supposed to be equal to market value. Most of the real estate properties in this municipality, their values are going to double.
You know,
And we may have to, the thought process right now, because again, this doesn't get us to 100, it only gets us to 85, and that's with the additional 10%, so it's actually more like 70-something. We'll probably end up doing the same exact thing again next year as well. But what this will do, hopefully, is prevent us from having people have sticker shock when the reval is finalized in the next 2 years, and everybody sees their property values go up by more than 100%. So.
Yeah, I was familiar with a couple of houses over in Waterville for somebody that I know pretty well. But anyway, they had, which I couldn't believe, two of them, 5-bedroom, 2-bedroom houses at $160,000 for sale. So that's not quite as big of a, influx as what everybody is predicting type of situation. And I think interest rates are going to have a lot to do with it too. We're going to see houses level off and probably even decrease a little bit on the for sale situations.
Other comments or questions? Thank you, Michelle. Committee reports. Economic developments.
We did not meet in July because of the holiday, but we will meet the first Tuesday in August, right here at 3:30.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Peter, I think we're probably sitting...
So,
and also PFAS and the 31 Lawrence Avenue have meetings upcoming, but we are nothing since the last meeting. The fifth order of business, consent agenda. These items are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. They are item 24-107, order the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting number 2024-12 held on June 26, 2024. And item 24-108, order the Town Council hereby approves Treasurer's Warrant number 129, General Fund 6 for June 30th, 2024, in the amount of $96,932.94, not limited to, but including MSD 49 fuel, Eagle Rental, Quirk Ford, and warrant number 54, General Fund 6/30/2025, and in the amount of $147,854.14, not limited to, but including ME Bond Bank and the motor vehicles and workman's comp.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor? Thank you. The sixth order of business, to take action on the following items of business as read by the council chair. Item 24-109, order the town council hereby adopts amendments as presented to the land use ordinance, section 9.14, accessory dwelling units.
So moved.
second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I think it's pretty straightforward, just amending the language and making sure that we're in compliance. So all those in favor? Thank you, 5-0. Item 24-110, order the town council hereby vote to fix a date when taxes shall be due and payable in 4 installments when billed, and that an annual interest rate of 8.5% per annum be charged on taxes remaining unpaid after the 11th day of September 2024 or 30 days from the tax bill mailed, whichever is later, for the first installment after the 13th day of November 2024, for the second installment after the 5th day of February 2025, and for the third installment and after the 7th day of May 2024 for the fourth installment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second, discussion. I think we've gone over those before and kind of tried to spread them out and kind of following the different days of the quarters. So all those in favor? 5-0, thank you. Item 24-111, or the town council hereby vote to fix the interest rate to be paid by the town on abated taxes pursuant to the Title 36 MRSA 506-A at 4.5%.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
What was it this past year on the interest rate? Was it?
Was the interest rate 8? I think it was 8.
It was
Yeah, I
8?
think so.
So
Well,
it's
I think it was
actually,
8, so then the abated taxes would have been 4. The law only allows you to go 4 points lower than the amount that you use for property taxes that are outstanding.
okay.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor? 5-0, thank you. Item 24-112, order the town council hereby vote to apply as much of the yearly overlay as may be necessary to fund property tax abatements and applicable interest granted during the July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 fiscal year.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, 5-0. Item 24-113, or the town council hereby authorizes the tax collector to accept prepayment of taxes not yet committed and to pay no interest on said prepayments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? You want to pay your taxes at a time? That's okay. We'll take it. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you very much. So moving on to the 7th order of business, which is the council workshop and other business, to discuss Acme Drive, the road discontinuance request. So I know Stephanie wanted to speak to this, but then we have...
Yeah, I was hoping Kevin would be here. But I've read through the documents that Michelle gave us several times. And I have some big concerns. First of all is, we have no documentation from the abutters. I think we need to have that. I don't believe word of mouth in this kind of a situation is enough.
I think we need like a public hearing or something.
So let's Stephanie
Yeah,
roll.
so there's also going to be legal costs, and there'll be a need for surveying and mapping. We were presented those 3 methods. The only one that would apply would be the first one, which is the statutory process of discontinuance. The second one, which is presumption of abandonment, that is a 30-year process, whereas the common law doctrine of abandonment is 20 years. So the first one, the statutory process of discontinuance, is the only one that would be applicable. One of the things that kept popping up to me was the fact that the amount of damages would have to be paid to the abutters. Now, according to the document, when you discontinue a road, half of the, and without Kevin here, I'm not sure what his intent is on that. Did he want the whole road? I don't know. And to me, again, we would have to have the documentation from the abutters saying what's happening. In either case, I could see SAD 49 having to pursue some legal costs. I am firmly against using taxpayer money for personal gain. And in a situation like this, I feel that's what could happen. The only way I could actually approve of anything with the discontinuation of Acme Drive would be to have Kevin Violet incur all of the charges on costs from both the municipal side, so we're not using taxpayer money, and paying the abutters also. So I do not feel that we are in a position to close Acme Drive. And it is going to be a costly endeavor, which I do not feel is the responsibility of this municipality and this council to consider at this time using taxpayer money.
Make a strong case, Stephanie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
My
Peter, yeah, you got
concerns too. Yeah, we don't have any documentation. I was looking on the tax map. On the tax map, it's still called Willow Street, not Acme Drive. So I'm just wondering, was there a documentation put in, a stipulation to the DOT or a public hearing to call it a different name, because it says on this map, Davis Street, Willow Street, Acme Drive. Because I don't think that the proper procedures were amended. I don't know how I got Acme Drive. It was still Willow Street on the tax map. And also too, last council meeting, I took a drive down there, myself, my wife. Here's mention about damages on that property. DOT's marking that entrance already. I don't know how far that goes in DOT property. We can fix. Also too, I saw the damage that he said a tractor trailer made, it could be a plow, and also too, on the property line, that property line's open with a barricade going over to the school side to use gas. If that is his property line, why don't he seal it off? Or send in a claim saying no through trucks? Just like other downtown roads. That was never done. So they must pay for things. And also too, if he wants it, he must pay by amount, the butters, but one is a school district. And I saw, while I was down there, tractor trailers moving there. Is that school garage being leased out by a tractor trailer NUC or what? So there's a lot of things that's not privy to or has been documentation. So I saw Bruce.
No, yes, sir, you just got it. So, yeah, I think actually, I don't know if Adam or John, if you had some thoughts, but definitely see Bruce. I think Bruce with the Department of Transportation for us, or Public Works, so.
I
you probably
watched the meeting and I wanted to touch on a few.
I'd love to have, I'm sure you have a much better handle of this and some details for us, so I appreciate you being here and being willing to fill us in.
Sure. So there was, just going over some of the comments that Kevin made during that meeting, there was a water gate valve there that was up 2 or 3 inches, very high. I had contacted Kennebec Water District on Monday, Tuesday, that was addressed, lowered, and where it belongs. The manhole in the intersection is high, has been high. It's getting adjusted with the DOT project up Main Street. All right, snow plowing, he's absolutely right. He asked me not to plow it. He didn't want the salt, didn't want the sand. He has high-end cars up there, nice concrete floors, didn't want it. Figured it was the only business up there. Gentleman's agreement, we didn't plow it. It won't happen in the future, it will be plowed. Grass in the cracks of the roads, you're gonna get that with no traffic, okay? The road is in rough shape, should be paved. We have a lot worse roads with a lot higher traffic count.
Can I say something, Bruce?
Sure.
I took my Jeep. That road is perfect. So I don't know if Kevin is maintaining it or what. But
He plowed the snow off in it for the last several years.
There's no damage on that road at all.
Yep.
If it was, I would have gone my Jeep down that road.
Sure. So those are some of the points that I had picked up. There is brush in the ditch. We cut brush here, there, and everywhere in the winter months. Ditching, we're not having drainage problems, so we're not going to chase out to ditch a road with no problems. So that was some of the things that I wanted to touch on to clarify that.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, Bruce, I appreciate it.
Just for clarification point, Peter, I just double checked the online tax maps. Even the website version and our scanned version, it does say Acme Drive for that end. And then, so you're aware, and so everybody is aware. Road naming is a council process, and it's also an E911 process. And when those roads, those crossings were closed, those road names were done at that time.
Okay.
I don't think it's in any of the minutes and stuff that we put together for you, because it was just simply about the actual road itself, not the renaming of the roads. But that is how that process happens. And it's we have an E911 addressing officer, that's the fire chief, and that's how all that stuff happens. But there is a process for that. But I did just look,
Yeah,
just to make sure, because I wanted to make sure, but
I
it
did
is.
it yesterday and it still said Willow on it.
If you zoom in, it goes to Acme Drive. It also very briefly says Davis Street.
Yeah.
It has to do with the layers and the history of the maps that are in that file.
I'm just
but-
concerned too, if there's any tractor trailers down there. I don't know if we does it politic for no food trucks.
No, there's never been, I've never seen a tractor trailer on that road, period.
I don't know,
And I'm there every, I'm there, I'm there
It probably
every
is one of
week.
those things that happens as an accident, not necessarily somebody thinks that they're going somewhere, or if it's a
Right.
delivery or whatnot.
The
I
only,
mean,
the only thing that road is used for right now is school buses will go down that road to go out the other places and stuff like that, and so it's used more as a, just a circle
Yeah.
from the school bus garage and goes
And
out
without-
into that area.
That's what I'm
Without
concerned.
Kevin here to clarify that, I have no idea how many it is.
That portion that they do access is on his property. It's
Yes,
further down the
that-
line.
yeah, absolutely.
that they
Right,
do.
I don't know, that's the-
And there is significant damage
Right.
near that, where there was a tractor trailer stuck in that.
I'm
You
just-
could see- I
Possibly,
drove
but
by
I'm
on-
going to say it might have been it's a one-time affair.
It could be, yeah.
I'm just concerned too, that's his property line. Why don't you put a barricade up? You don't want anyone on his property.
Because he doesn't.
Well,
There is no traffic on that road whatsoever except for the few cars that might go up to his office.
Yeah, that's-
That's it,
Was there
period.
before that road was discontinued to connect
It
over
was,
the
it was
tracks?
connected to a, it was connected
It was
up
connected to
above
Willow
there
Street
to
on the other
Willow
side.
Street.
Maple
Right.
Street.
So was
It
there
was
traffic
up above
beforehand
Willow
that
Street.
truck maps might not be updated to show that that road does not exist anymore, since those are mostly offline maps?
No.
Why?
Anything is possible when it
Right.
comes to that kind of
Right.
piece. It has been reported, it is on all of our various different maps and pieces, and because of the fact that it's also, railroad crossings are mapped at the federal level, and they've been discontinued even at the federal level. So somebody's very outdated GPS could very well still have that it is a throughway. But it would have to be really outdated.
Right, but like I said, I've never seen a tractor trailer even close to thinking. There is a tractor trailer garage next to the bus garage on the other side, and that's where the tractor trailers are, but you don't see them on that road at all.
So lots of good discussion, thoughts on how to move forward. To me, I think we have to put it in pause until we have a better discussion with Kevin.
If he would like to pursue it
Yeah.
at this point.
Right. So I think that's, because we,
So I was like, so what do you want
Yeah.
us to do with this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can move forward, and if he wants to pursue it, I think it's the feeling of the board and of the council that we we don't want to move forward with it unless we have more information, and we talk about where lines are, where we wanted about addressing the butters, picking up costs, and all the ramifications that there are. So,
Okay. So if he would like to discuss it with council, he should put in a written request that
Yep.
that be there?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that your feeling?
Yeah,
Yeah, with all the brothers here.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Very good.
We'll do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 2 of the council workshop is to discuss the proposed updates to town council administrative policy and the parks use permits. Can you help us with that, Michelle?
So this came up at your meeting last week because, 2 weeks ago, regarding the confusion around the form we had for folks to basically rent the park, one of the parks, right? So if they wanted to use the gazebo or Mill Island Park. The form has been completely revamped, basically so that it does exactly what it says. It's a reservation permit. It's not actually a rental agreement because there were no real fees involved. And it didn't prevent anybody else from using those locations. So basically, you would be reserving the gazebo. We have refilled out the form and extended the hours from the hour and a half to 3 hours because evidently it was the hour and a half that prompted the discussion. Other than that, there's not a lot different in the form other than just clarification points, but it's no real different meat to it. The other piece that's in here, though, is we do ask, and currently ask, if somebody has a need for electricity for their event. Now, you can have electricity at Mill Island Park or Monument Park, but what that does is that requires Public Works to go in, get into the electrical box that we have down there and run the cord and make that available to folks. And then while folks are there for their 3-hour, what could now be a 3-hour event, to use the electricity. So when we think about the fact of not using taxpayer dollars for private gain, do you want to charge for the electricity that someone would use during the event? Because when you rent the community center, it is to offset our cost of operating the building. And we do pay for electricity in the park. It is a metered piece. We pay for that everywhere. So that was part of you for a discussion. And then the draft piece, this Article 5, currently council's administrative policies doesn't have anything under town parks. It just says this section reserved for future use. So this would incorporate basically what is driving the need for the reservation permit. And it's modeled after the section that we have on the community center that's right before that, but it does include some other things, like it clarifies that, you know, nowhere do we say that dogs are allowed in the park, but you need to clean up after your dog. And I looked in multiple locations and ordinances, this in your administrative policy. This is where you would actually set the fee for electricity if you were fee sheet.
You mentioned a 3-hour time frame. I know we had specifically said 90 minutes. Where is that in this document?
Right-hand corner.
Where?
Right under
Oh,
the
it's
title.
It's on the
Oh,
permit
that's-
process, yeah.
And then did I put,
That's, yeah, okay.
I don't think
It's
I
not
put it in the
policy.
policy though, so
And-
good question.
And I just, I think it's still, let me rephrase that. I didn't even notice that 3 hours up there. I don't know what that's telling me. I would probably put that as a note, that 3 hours, maybe make 3-hour limit. I don't know if there's any
Or to put up to 3 hours.
up to 3 hours. I don't know if there's an addendum to that, because I know there's something about in here.
Well, there is, so if you look under permitted uses, it says the Fairfield Parks shall be available for reservation between dawn to dusk. We could just add to that in 3-hour increments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that same sentence, we do say something about anything before open or later than closing shall be made with an administrator at the time of application, which I'm assuming is for special use cases or whatnot.
Right.
Would that apply to?
Right.
So
Well,
if somebody said, oh, it's really open for 4 hour, is that something that, since it's in the same, under section 3 of permitted uses, we
then
would,
make that a 4.
Yeah.
I mean, or, yeah, and then change the next one to 5
yeah.
and keep it separate.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as for the electricity, I'm all for charging for the electrical use. It would be more, we have to be consistent with what we're doing. And if we don't, then again, it's personal gain,
And you have to look at
using
the...
taxpayer money.
Right,
So,
exactly. And you have to look at Public Works actually having to get down there.
Right.
Open up the box, put out the cord, do all that kind of stuff for that process, so.
and it's 2 trips because they have to lock it back up once they're done.
Right.
So if you have a draft that we're working on tonight,
Yep.
and we're going to bring it back for another meeting to be voted on, do you have a proposal for an adjustment to the fee schedule so I can prepare that for you?
I would take a look at what we're charging in relationship to the community center and how much of that is designated towards electrical use.
Probably have no idea. I mean,
Because it's electrical use, there's cleaning.
So I can take a look at some of the electrical bills
Yeah.
that we have for that location. And maybe just see what the difference in fee was, because it was for a much longer duration, when we had the Christmas lights this past December. And see what that did for an increase during that time frame, just to get a general idea. I wouldn't recommend that you use a huge fee. I think it should be a smaller fee. And then as this happens, we'll know.
Right.
Right? It doesn't really happen very often. But we would know whether or not what the big increase was. So, for an event, and have a better idea what that should be. But I can take a look at that and come back with a recommendation. I think it's probably you'll find that it's gonna be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe $25. I mean, it's just,
At best.
I mean, unless you wanted me to go in fact, we have a number that we use for staff time. It's much higher than that when you think about their wage, because we include wages, benefits, all of that. So we have to have that calculation for when we do FEMA stuff. So whatever.
knee-jerk reaction to me, this $25 kind of pops out in my head. And that doesn't, it's right or wrong, I don't know, but that's what pops out to me. But that's, we should think about it. I think more, honestly, electricity isn't much. It's more the public works, member who's going down there and taking care of things. So.
Okay, I also have a couple questions on the permit form. What would other be? Because we don't specifying other in the policy.
Say, maybe it's the playground over here next to the community center. We're gonna have a birthday party.
Always good to have other, give yourself some leeway.
Or say it's, we want to do a really big barbecue, but we want to do it down here next to the boat ramp. But it's not actually, or we're going to have an event that's up at the Hinckley Boat Landing, right? Or that kind of stuff. I mean, there's other forms for some of those things, but you don't know what it could be, but it could be most anything.
So it's not parks then, it's green space.
Well, that's technically considered a park. I mean, we just don't have it. It's the play place.
The playground.
Yep. You want me to add parks and green space?
That other draft had said Parks and Waterfront agreement.
Yep, it did say waterfront.
And that was
Yeah.
something that was discussed.
Sounds fancy.
That, like, 2020, COVID
Yeah.
came, it got set aside.
So you're saying on section maybe 501, town parks? Maybe town parks.
Well, we're opening it up. When you say other, you don't know where, but if you want to specify waterfront, then you've got this whole frontage down here, you've got Hinckley Boat Landing. It opens up possibilities. It's not just the parks. And then it can substantiate other. I would prefer the waterfront word be put in there.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, I want a sample, waterfront, put it in the Chris used a sample so they understand what it is.
Or are you saying at the top where it says
That
Parks
other.
Use Agreement,
Right.
Parks and Waterfront Use
Parks and
Agreement?
waterfront use
Yeah.
agreement,
Yeah.
reservation permit.
Okay, yeah.
And then other can refer to that.
All right.
The other thing is, last time we met, we talked about insurance, and are we leaving it up to the counter people to refer interested people
That was
about?
the other piece that you needed to discuss. It is typically recommended that if we rent, we make sure that they have insurance. That has never been the town's policy, but we can change that policy. Event insurance, when it's a one-time thing for an event, isn't all that expensive. But when you start talking about just wanting to do a birthday party, and you've reserved, because you've now reserved that space, you are no longer allowing that space available to the general public. So we're covered under Maine Tort Claims Act if anybody does anything to themselves on public property, right? We're not liable for that, because that's how that law works, unless they got hurt because of our negligence. But if you have a bunch of people come to an event, you yourself are not covered under our insurance should something happen to those individuals that are at your event.
Just like if they want a flea
And we
market.
would definitely suggest, like, say if somebody was going to do a fundraiser, or they were going to do, a play or what have you, that they get insurance for that event. You have the ability to go through Maine Municipal Association. It's called On Guard. And that you can purchase it through them because we are a member of MMA. We're covered under Maine Municipal Association's insurance. I've heard that it can run anywhere between $35 to $150 depending on the event.
Yep.
We can put that in here and say that they're required to do that. They have to provide us proof. You could say that only these types of events have to have insurance. You could say,
I think all we need to say it is recommended that
Right.
you have insurance, otherwise it's like pass at your own risk kind of thing.
so, and that's why we have that insurance liability piece at the very bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's also mentioned in the policy piece of it as
Yeah.
well.
Because we as a town are protected.
Right.
Right.
And what we can do is give them There's a one-page sheet that comes from MMA, their website, that links to that insurance. We can put it right on the back of this form.
That would
that would be
be,
good.
that would be the best thing, because of that,
And then
if
that way
they,
they have
if they
that.
own a business or something like that, their business insurance, that can pick up and cover that very
Right.
easily.
Some
But
people
if
don't
it's
need it,
just a
some people
regular
do.
homeowner type of thing, then there's
Yeah.
not any coverage, so they're gonna have to go to the MMA.
Okay.
So a few corrections, or a few changes we want. Do we need to go over those, or do you have those recorded?
Yeah, I think I'm good. Parks and waterfront pieces, we'll add the insurance to the back page. We're gonna fix the permitted uses by adding in the 3-hour increments and renumbering 3 and 4. And then we will list, I think where we just had under town parks, we had Mill Island Park and Monument Park gazebo. We can list their community center playground, waterfront locations, Hinckley, Chalmette,
Yep.
that sort of stuff. Or, sub these, but not limited to, or make it general and just expand that a bit.
Very good.
Are we making any wording changes on the liability to include more of a recommendation, like therefore it's recommended an applicant obtain event insurance rather than should? Seems,
No, I wouldn't, I would say should, not recommended.
all right.
Because they can do that without insurance. If you say recommended, then they can do it without getting insurance.
But they can do it without. It is a recommendation, it's not a requirement.
Either way they can.
No,
Right, but should is more stern
yep,
than recommend
yep.
when it comes to legal speech. Because
Correct.
with recommend, that might be considered more of the fact that you're telling. I don't know.
I think
I
should
played with
tells,
both the words,
I think
but-
should is more telling and
Yeah.
makes me think I need to have it because I'm only, the town's protected, but I'm not. Now I need to have it because the town's not protecting me as I read that. So
Yeah.
that was where my recommendation for that word comes from.
And because one of the things you also have to remember is, and there are a lot of municipalities that are actually going through this right now, and they're changing it that you must have insurance. And you have to provide it, because what happens is even though we're not liable, it doesn't prevent someone from suing us, and then we still have to pay those costs for that lawsuit. And that's why they're requiring the fact that you have
Correct.
to have
Yep.
insurance for these kinds of events.
So then in that case, do we put down that the town is not liable in case of personal injury or harm
No, it does say will not cover the various individuals and groups that use the premises
against their negligence?
Right.
Or just come out right and say, we are not responsible for any?
Well, because we don't know until it happens whether we are or not.
Right.
But should, the definition of should is not necessarily ought to. That's the definition.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Perfect.
All good?
I think I'm good. I have everything I need for this. Thank you.
Thank you. So that will come before us probably next time?
Next time, you're fine for it being an action item and not a discussion.
I think so.
Yep. No problem.
Is that all right with the
Yeah.
rest of the council?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, it brings us to number 3, to discuss other council business.
We would like to do the brush dump.
Yep. I didn't, so yes. Bruce, welcome back. So we wanted to talk about the brush dump.
I'd like to get it back open, but I'd like to have a little guidance from the council on how we should proceed. Because this is an endless battle.
So you're the expert. I will yield to you and what your thoughts are.
My thoughts are 1 week a month. 1 week a month, we're putting up more cameras. I don't know if it's gonna work. We don't have manpower to have somebody sit there and babysit the brush dump. We're getting material we shouldn't. I don't know what to do with it, but it's a good service for the community if it was just our community that was using it.
Do we have any policies in place, ordinances or anything like that, that permit like fining individuals who caused this
There is not.
to offset any of these?
There
Okay.
is not. It was actually better for the offender the last time for me to approach him and tell him he needs to remove his debris, the 150 yards of debris, rather than the minimal fine that he would have gotten.
Bruce, since we have had to start paying for the chipping of the brush and the removal of it as well, how much of an added burden is that to us financially?
I don't have a dollar amount. Do you mean the chipping or?
Right, 'cause we had
I
some-
mean, in general, the chipping, I think, was like $3,000. It's $2 a ton, I believe, is what they charged us.
Yeah,
However, we have to dispose of any debris they won't chip, you know, the building debris, the shingles.
$7,500 is what we budgeted for chipping this year.
7,500. However, it's supposed to be just brush, and you just mentioned building material.
Supposed to be just brush and leaves, and when I say brush, I'm talking, you know, nothing bigger than this. We're getting
Logs.
logs. We're
Tree
getting
stumps.
stumps. We're getting material that the chippers can't handle. And it's really, really frustrating.
What would happen if brush was brought to the Public Works garage? Would it make
Just
any
have to
difference?
Transfer it, and that's not policed. You know, as far, I don't mean that the police aren't keeping an eye, it's just, we're not
Why not?
gated.
Nobody's
They're
there.
gonna come after we leave. You know, they're doing that now when we don't accept that material at Public Works. Years ago, there used to be a brush pile out back. Some folks remember that. So now that the brush dump's closed, they're coming back to Public Works. Tomorrow, we're putting up 4 poles, mounting 4 cameras in preparation for you folks and your thoughts on what we could do, what you would like to see happen. The phone calls are coming. They want the brush done.
Yeah. How does the town use the Green Road brush dump?
How do we use it? Brush removal roadside,
Okay.
you know, if we're cutting brush.
Sand pits aren't there or anything?
I didn't
The
use-
sand pits,
It's in a different
Gravel
portion.
pits?
Different portion, not accessible
not accessible.
from that, no.
Well, I think this is one of those situations that no matter what we do, there'll be people trying to stretch the use for their own purpose.
Absolutely.
And I think putting up more cameras is one way to police it more actively. And it is a service that is appreciated, I
It
think.
absolutely is. I agree 100%. I want to see it open.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that leaving it open 24/7 is a good idea.
Is there any documentation as to what kind of brush should be dropped off at the Green Road?
Yeah,
And it's
there's-
specified, right? I can't remember right
Right on the
now.
Yeah,
website.
there's-
Right on the
Is that right
website.
on the website?
And there are 2 huge, when I say huge, the size of that
Signs.
TV, signs that hang down there, brush and leaves only. Nothing larger than 6-inch diameter, I believe
So
it
it's
says.
posted.
And your thoughts on the being open for the 1 week? Or, I think that it does compress it, and so you can monitor it a little better?
Could monitor it a little better. You know, we've only got that one Saturday, Sunday that it's open. During the week, I'm always policing it when I have time.
So what would be the advantage of having it opened up for a whole week? When most people are working?
Convenience for folks.
Well.
Surprisingly, when most folks, I thought that as well, but I get a lot of calls during the day from elderly folks that are picking up in their yard. I live on the Green Road, I see the traffic all hours of the day,
Yeah.
you know? My concern is contractors. A lot of contractors use that. And it's not just brush and leaves they're hauling in, they're sweeping parking lots, they're dumping that in the sand pile. It's We have to be very, very careful now where we're having this chipped. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment that comes in to dispose of this. And if they're just coming in and destroying their equipment for a few ton of chips, they're gonna say, no, thank you, we don't wanna come back, and I've only found 2 companies to do this for us.
We discussed shortening the number of days, what if it was just a weekend, or what if it was just every other weekend, or what have you. And the concern is that the volume of, the area is not built to handle a volume of traffic. So say it's we have an event, and then which we can always make adjustments if there's an event. But if you have people who are just trying to get in that 1 day or 2 days a month, you could end up with a lot of volume of traffic, and the area is not built to handle that. And then the concern is that there would be accidents because there'd just be too much in there. So by doing the week, it spreads it out so that there's more of a time frame. And the piece, and we've also did discuss, what if we did do it at Public Works? And maybe that ends up being our last resort before we say we no longer take brush anymore. Because then we know we're guaranteed to have guaranteed better Wi-Fi access, lighting, all of that. So if we set all those extra cameras up at that area at Public Works, we would more than likely capture anybody who was illegal dumping. But it does add more steps, because then that material then has to be taken to the brush dump by Public Works, or it would be chipped there on site, and then the pile gets to be unruly and all of those things. Because remember, we're also not allowed to compost anymore either without those licenses.
Yeah. Well, my feeling is to do it for the week on a trial basis, run it for about until winter, and see how it goes, and then come back and talk about it. And if there's still abuse happening, then we'll have to discuss other measures. But that's my feeling.
Yeah, I think I would also tend to head that way, 1 week, like the first week of every month or whatever, so it can be consistent, so people know whether it's the first and third or whatever it is. But I think starting off with a week at this point would be worthwhile. It's probably, I think people can probably hold on to their brush for a few weeks and plan for it. I think it's reasonable at this point. And we find that we have a bigger need, well, we can try to expand. If we're finding issues, we can change.
Yeah.
I think it's good to have the service available, which we don't have right now. But I also think we need to be respectful of the Public Works time and also the town dollars spent. So.
Yeah. On the same idea is, why couldn't we also have a designated burn pile that would take place? We can't do that.
We can't burn it anymore.
Oh, you can't burn it.
That's why we have to have it chipped.
That's right. But homeowners can still do burn.
Homeowners can
You
burn
can
it.
burn the brush where it's cut, but don't haul it
Oh,
someplace
that's
else and
right.
cut.
That's right.
The homeowners can burn it. And if you have a really big pile, make sure you call the fire department.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's my feeling.
preferably with no
You need a
30-mile-an-hour
burn permit.
winds and...
And what's your feelings on contractors?
If it's brush, well, so that's a tough thing. Obviously, who's going to police, that they have a town of Fairfield permit on their truck window, and they're coming from Fairfield, and it's the brush is from Fairfield. But I think at some point you probably have to just trust, and you're going to get taken advantage of. You're going to.
Just say you can't have logs, like,
But as long as you follow the rest of the rules, I think that's reasonable. But
Now, you talk about a dump permit years ago,
Sure.
people
We all have
had,
dump
but we
permits.
don't have
Right.
right.
a dump, so to speak.
So
no,
if a contractor comes to your house and picks up your brush, they could take it to the brush dump. But if you're a contractor based in Fairfield and you go to Waterville and pick up their brush, are you allowed to
Technically.
bring it to Fairfield? You're a Fairfield resident, even though you're a contractor.
Yeah, I think it's that part becomes a regulating process. If you had
We could
permits.
post the fact that no brush is allowed unless it is, comes from the town of Fairfield.
But there's no
But how do
way-
you police
right.
that?
There is no
I know,
way to
I've got
police it.
visions
There's no
of
way to
spring
police any of
cleanup going on.
There's no way to police any of it.
I do think we need to work on stronger fines for those being caught offended.
Now, are
That's where
those
I was-
fines in the policy?
The fines that are there are actually set by state law. We don't have fines.
We don't have it.
That's why I started off with
I
that,
don't
just
think
to
we
see.
changed the fines.
I believe the only fine the chief could impose on the last one was like a littering fine.
It's just
or
littering.
something to that.
Yeah, there
effect.
are no fines that we can do under the law.
Well, can't we as a council come up with one?
Right.
We can check, but
I think we should check.
I should check. I would like to at least check and see what we can impose.
I think cameras are great.
Yeah.
If the fine is $10 to litter, I'm not saying that's what it is, but if it's something negligible for 150 yards of material, it doesn't really
Right.
sway me from not doing
we
it.
were
Right.
lucky with that one that we found out who it was.
Yeah,
That doesn't always
absolutely.
happen.
That's not always going to happen, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
So
Keep up the good work.
So what's the feeling of the council on that one?
On which one?
I think on all that. So
On all of
we come
that?
trying to give them some advice.
Oh.
So we talked about a lot. I think the council, having the cameras up are good.
Yeah.
I would go ahead with that. And I think,
What's your take? Which week? Pick a week. First week, last week?
The second full week, because on a first week of the month, it's not always a full week. But if you do the second week, it's a full week. So I would recommend the
So to keep it
second.
simple in the explanation, can we say the first full week
That's-
of the month?
Yes.
How about you
Yes.
just say, or what if we just did the 1st through the 7th of every month?
Okay.
that will include a weekend.
That gives you a
One
weekend,
Yep,
a full weekend.
yep.
But it would give you if you went a full week, it would give you a Sunday on one end and a Saturday on the
Right.
other. At least this gives 2 days back to back. Could give 2 days back to back. But that is guaranteed. 1st through the 7th. Doesn't matter where it falls.
Yep. All right, that sounds good.
I want to look at that, because I can see
Yeah.
an issue. No, we'll be fine. Sorry. Okay.
And run it, again, this is on a trial basis to see how it's going, and then we'll revisit this come spring and see if any further steps have to take
And if you're having more
place.
frustrations, Bruce, we should revisit it sooner.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this point, we got that one. So any other council business?
We received papers about the Crawford Fund. What's the status on that, Michelle?
So the request from the school did not come in. When I finally was able to speak to the principal regarding that, he said he needed just a few more days. So instead of trying to rush to try to get it done for this Wednesday, I said we can easily just put it on the second meeting in July, and he was fine with that. So you'll have your request by your next meeting packet.
And they have
So-
nice earnings this year, so it's good.
That was in our email update.
And I meant to put that in my manager's report, so to answer that, because the agenda did originally go out with that in there, so
Christine
that's
put it in
why.
our emails.
Okay,
so
good.
I saw that, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did.
Yep. Got it right there.
Very good. John, anything else to add?
Nope, I'm good.
Stephanie?
Well, we're now in the month of July. Did we have anybody walk the 4 trails in Fairfield during
I'll
June?
have to double check. I don't know,
Okay.
but I will find out.
Bruce did?
Bruce, you walked all 4?
Well done, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
I was just looking for issues.
Doesn't matter, still counts.
But did you find any?
Did you
So-
register that you walked all 4?
Did not.
I'm truthful, actually, but.
right.
Anything else, Stephanie?
No, that's it.
Great. Adam?
I just want to say that I know we talked about it on the first, first order of business, but we've got the first summer concert of the park. The DE experience is who's playing. There'll be children's entertainment, the Knights of Columbus food cart from 6 to 7:30 on the 12th. So exciting there.
It will be. It'll be good. Anything else? Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Peter?
All right, on July 19th, Friday, July 19th, the Grange is having their senior luncheon from 11:30 to 1. I left, I know a lot of comments out. I wanted to wait for last because it was just a lot from the managers, the building, to this. Came to my attention. I I was a vendor this over the weekend at the community center, and we had some major issues. I got hold of the town manager on a Sunday by text, where two water leaks on this side of the building because of the storm. I went in Monday and apologized to the town manager, saying that I didn't want, I should have interrupted on a Sunday. Bruce was sitting there too. I guess it was something matter with the roof. Roof vent leaked. And because it got dripped on the floor, I went into the main floor and onto one of the tables. Before even started. It wasn't there the night before they set up. But when we got there at 7:30 and the person came to me, he knew I was a counselor, saying, this is what happened. I went over there, I got hit by some water. Then we walked up a little farther, about 20 feet, all over the table. So that was like 20 feet back from the wall. Another issue was that water leak. Sunday was very hot in the community center. And it was very hot, and with no air circulation. And we discussed that on Monday in the town manager's office. I guess one of the vents, it doesn't work. The exhaust vent, the same loud noise. Plus I looked at the ceiling, the ceiling vent fan, and it never works. I got that from Bruce's conversation I had with Bruce. And then the vendors were complaining, we had the back door open. They had to use the front door because the pavement from the back door out to the walkway is so rickety. So that's another issue. The discussion we had in the office is we need a major investment in the community center. I know I very much thank Steph on her part, but on the building committee part, we saw that, and we do need a major investment into this building because we are renting it in the summertime and no air circulation on the main floor. And also too, we ever looked at the password, because I know we had a password none of us could get on our laptops or cell phones with the password of the community center. So if there was a Wi-Fi issue or what. Then that's it on the community center. And I read the town manager's report about the police station. Building committee, as a chairman, we give it an F because of the doors and things like that. And on the report from Chief Gould in that town manager report, the building's shifting again. The doors don't even close. And that's a security issue for any residents walking in. And also too, on the back doors for the locker rooms. They won't close. They have to keep checking 2 or 3 times a day in the front doors. So as the building chair, I know my report went out March 23rd, and we're just waiting on another report from the fire station on that drilling to see what's underneath there. And with that, the best information is from the elderly or the older people from the town, what's buried underneath that fire department. And they told me what was buried. The old garage that was there, they buried it. And plus there's a couple of DeSoto vehicles underneath the fire station. So we don't know if that's a public issue or not. So with my report out, I read the report from Chief. I feel that he is pleading for help right now, saying we're on deaf ears. We gave that report out, that was an old report, but now the chief saying, do something. I read between the lines on his way that says, do something. So I'm not pleading as a chairman, but we need to look at my report at all our buildings and to actually invest for our town employees to work there. So that's all I gotta say.
Okay, so I think that's good, I appreciate that. I think there'd be two things there that I hear is definitely, yes, there are needs. So your building subcommittee was just a committee to make recommendations, and you made your recommendations. So now actually, what you're making your recommendations not as a building committee, but as a town councilor.
Right.
So I think that's valid, and I think that's important. So I think you take the building committee out, you've done your due diligence there. Now we have to look at, so, hey, we have a problem. So do we actually have a capital fund for buildings? Yes, we do. It had, last I knew, about $380,000 in it, if I remember correctly from the budget. So our department heads should actually ask our town manager and ask public and anybody else to put together an estimate needed for repairs, and we should actually be able to tap into that fund if needed. Why is that not a reasonable
With
plan
that,
or approach?
we're just putting a Band-Aid on issues.
So
I'm
you can
just-
have this, so I guess that point is, so what would you propose us to do?
I know my report came out in whatever.
So-
It came out and for the council to make their recommendations now. So
So
as a
that-
councilor, I'm just looking for us to have it and looked at and making the recommendation.
So I would say, I mean, I will speak for the rest, I'll let you all speak, but the way I took that is that we propose a subcommittee to make a recommendation to the town council, right?
Right.
Okay, so you made your recommendations, and a lot of them have been the fact that some buildings are not up to par and need to either have total renovations, or maybe we need new buildings. But the fact is, we also have, that's a long-term process. That's why we're looking at this, like, do we need a whole new public safety building? Do we need other facilities? And I think that's true, but we also have to look at short-term. So what you're talking about right now is short-term, is now, right? So we're not going to build a new.
No, I'm not saying that, build something.
Okay, so that's what.
Like on the police station.
So that's what I'm just asking for clarification of what your goal
Like on the
is.
police station. They got this now, we saw something, now this happens. What's gonna happen if that, something happens?
Right.
A security issue or someone's gonna get hurt in that building.
So I think we've all known, and most of the public has known, that building has been settling for years and has been an issue, right? And you look at the door, just look at the doors, and you
Right.
know that it's been settling. So on that end is, how do we continue to maintain it in the short term to make sure there is adequate safety for the employees and that there's a security that is safe and secure, and then also for the community center, how do we make sure that it's a better facility for people to rent and to enjoy? So those things are, if you pick out your list of items, let's put those together. Let's put together a budget. Let's go look at our capital, buildings reserve fund and address those if we need to.
Yeah, I agree with that. We do need to look at the long-term focus, but there are some things, Peter, I'm glad you brought it up. I totally missed it. In the town manager's report, the fact that officers or staff have been startled by people able to access the building that's very concerning. Those are the exact words that were written by Chief Gould. That needs to be fixed long before we start planning on, okay, does a public safety building? That needs to be fixed. So what can we do? What do we need to do to get the ball moving on something like that? Community center is one thing. I agree, that absolutely,
Like that
it's a
building.
terrible experience. I don't even want to fathom, the extreme of what could happen over there.
So, also in that same report, he did indicate the fact that he has contacted several businesses about getting quotes to replace those doors.
Yep.
So when we actually get a company to arrive to give us a quote to replace those doors, that's going to come before you as a council, because I'm thinking it's probably collectively going to be more than the $10,000, and that will come to you as soon as we get those estimates from those vendors. One of the other things that we have we have several of our facilities are being inspected by Maine Municipal Association's insurance rep tomorrow, and the chief, one of the places they are inspecting is the police station, and the chief is going to have a conversation with them about what can we do safely to secure those doors. Because the concern is that we could, bolt them, what have you, but then what does that do with the number of egresses that we have within the building?
Right.
So that's the other piece, is there something else we could do in the interim while we're waiting? Because we have, again, reached out to have folks come give us estimates to get those replaced.
Michelle, have we heard anything from that company that did around the fire station?
We have, so one of the things is, so I received an email tonight just before this meeting with their preliminary report and their preliminary invoice. They've not done the test borings yet. I haven't actually read the report. I just quickly looked at the invoice. I knew that they hadn't done the test borings because we had discussed it for what they found for a void. They have found things like drain pipes. They haven't found any cars. Wood you cannot pick up with the ground penetrating radar unless it's structured such, more of a structure as opposed to wooden pieces. But they have some various recommendations. I gave it a quick scan, so we'll have a chance to look at that, bring that back to you at your next meeting, and you guys will be able to go from there.
It sounds like things are being addressed. Does that make you?
Yeah, it just, nothing
satisfied?
moves quickly. So, and they've only spent, I think, collectively between them and the Dirigo piece, I want to say we're somewhere around 6,000 to 8,000, and I think we approved. Well, I'll have to go back and look. I don't want to speak out of turn, but there's quite a bit of money left that you had approved for this process. We just stopped at the test borings because it was questionable as to whether or not we even needed them. But there is a shift in the back end of the building where it is settled. So.
Yep. Thoughts on the community center issues?
So there are several community center issues that are in the works to be addressed. What had happened was, in this instance, we believe was the fact that the drains outside get clogged up and then they back up. And with the sheer volume of pine needles and different things that we've had, but they did get a man lift to double check the pipes to make sure that they weren't leaking. The piece of this building, and if you notice, we quite often have leaks throughout the building in the ceilings because it's old ductile iron pipe from the 1970s, and they do rust out and they need to be replaced. So as those leaks open up, we do get those sections replaced. But in order to prevent that in the future, you would have to have the entire building replumbed.
Which someday we may.
So, because we had a leak just right here that they fixed and repaired same day that they were in here, taking care of the community center piece. And while we had the man lift, they also replaced the 30 plus light bulbs that were out in the gymnasium, and got that stuff done and took down cobwebs and all that good stuff.
So on the ventilation system, is that something that could be looked at as a short-term fix?
So that is in the works for potential, yes.
So it's good to bring up items, and it's
There's
good to
lots of good
have them
stuff
addressed.
coming down the road for the community center. We just need to be
I just felt
patient.
bad contacting the town manager on a Sunday, one day off.
It's fine, happens all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we do appreciate, so I think it was, honestly, I think I hate it for Michelle too, but probably.
But if it was something I could have fixed, I would have
Right.
rather have been here and taken care of it immediately and had you continued on with your event. After I talked to Peter about it a little bit, I knew there was absolutely nothing we were going to be able to do
No.
on a Sunday. There just wasn't. As long as it wasn't still actively leaking and there wasn't water pouring out of the ceiling,
We just moved the table
we
over here.
kind of, through our conversation, deduced that it more than likely came from the rain event that we had on Saturday, and it seemed to be over, so,
But thank you for being there.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
that's what we do.
But I do appreciate it. So I don't have much to add, other than I really want to thank, Bruce has been here speaking twice tonight, and he is in the room. I want to thank Bruce, but especially his crew, for doing the great job at the park. It definitely makes a huge difference, and it's something for the town to be proud of. So I appreciate all the hard work that you've done. So just want to thank you. And that's all I really have.
Michelle's got some.
Michelle's
I
got
have
some.
two things for you. One, normally would never, ever plug a business here in the municipality, but this is just a statement of fact. Sunset Greenhouse is where we purchased all of those plants up there, and they did provide the community with a 25% discount
Thank you.
on that purchase, so that was really good. They were grateful to help. And even the gentleman that we spoke to today at Fine Line Paving about the paving piece, he's very excited to help contribute towards beautifying the park in that area. So there's a lot of folks out there who are very invested in seeing that area of the community undergo some improvements, so that is really good. And then in answer to your question for Delta Ambulance, the increase would take us, because we're currently at $25 per capita, this would go to $35. So this year's budgeted amount is $161,950. It will go to $226,730, which is a $64,780 increase.
Thank you very much for that, Michelle. Appreciate that. And thank you for pointing out the other folks that were involved to help out.
Yes, so there were quite a few. Thank you.
With that, the next regular meeting of the Fairfield Town Council will be Wednesday, July 24th. Ooh, 2024. That is my anniversary. That'll be a good time.
I've got a sappy public hearing for you that night.
To be held as a hybrid meeting on council chambers and via Zoom at 6:30 p.m. So at this time, we'll call a recess and sign all the documents.
Motion to recess.
Second.
Thank you.